إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستهديه ونسترضيه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح للأمة فكشف الله به الغمة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته ومن دعا بدعوته واتبع سنته وسار على دربه واقتفى أثره إلى يوم الدين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد فقد سبق أن تحدثنا عن سورة الكهف وما فيها مما يعتبر أساسا لبناء مجتمع مسلم قوي متماسك، وكان من هذه الأساسات أساس الدعوة إلى الخير والأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر، والثاني كان المال، وأساس آخر نتحدث عنه اليوم من خلال قصة موسى عليه السلام والخضر عليه السلام. So previously we had some talk on the foundations of a good cohesive Muslim community, and these foundations included, the first one was da'wah, commanding good and forbidding evil, eliminating evil from the very beginning, not allowing evil to grow, not giving it oxygen to survive. And that's through the story of the youth who ran away with their religion and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a lesson through them. The next one was the foundation of wealth, money. Money also is very important. And we had through the community of Medina as well, we could see how Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Uthman ibn Affan, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and the other wealthy people of the companions, how they founded a good Muslim state. And today we move on to the next foundation as mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, which is the foundation of knowledge, al-ilm. And when we talk about ilm, we say al-ilm al-nafi', the beneficial knowledge. And any knowledge will be beneficial, any knowledge will be beneficial as long as it leads you to fear Allah. And it will be of no benefit if it doesn't achieve this goal. So regardless of the subject of this knowledge. So if you are studying Sharia, or studying physics, or studying biology, or whatever you are studying, that will be beneficial knowledge if it leads you to know Allah and fear Him. Otherwise, it will be of no benefit. So if someone is studying Quran and he's getting away from Allah, what is the point? If someone is studying fiqh only to feel that he is above others, so what is the point? So it will be beneficial only if it leads you to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and fear Him. Allah said, after referring to some sciences in the ayah in Surah Fatir, then Allah said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Only people of knowledge fear Allah. So which kind of knowledge is mentioned before this ayah? It was about plants, mountains, people, diversity of colors, different colors, and none of these is as Sharia subject in our own usage. So these people, if they use their knowledge to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will be a praiseworthy knowledge and will be a good one. Otherwise, it will never be of any benefit. And the same applies to those who study tafsir, hadith, and all Sharia related knowledge. Of course, the knowledge which makes you know Allah the best is through the verses of the Quran, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. But we cannot exclude science as well. So, when we go through the knowledge that was taught by Musa alayhi salam in this surah, it's all telling us about how Allah decides the matter, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala plans for the whole universe. Allah said about Himself, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ مِمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. He is the one who plans. He is the one who arranges. He is the one who puts the matter in their right places according to his own plans, not according to our own plans. So you can see someone who is very weak, someone who is very persecuted, someone who is suffering, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting them to do so, is letting this happening. So Allah lets this happen for a reason. And at the end, everyone is coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and everyone will be responsible. And if you live or die, as Allah said, وَلَئِن مُتُّمْ أَوْ قُتِلْتُمْ لَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. And if you survive, if you die normal death, or you are killed, in either case you will be brought back to Allah. So that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is planning it. So if you are safe from a catastrophe, from a disaster, that doesn't mean you are guaranteed life forever. So let's go through the ayat in Surah Al-Kahf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِفَتَاهُ لَا أَبْرَحُ حَتَّى أَبْلُغَ مَجْمَعَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ أَوْ أَمْضِيَ حُقُبًا. So Musa alayhi salam, as the Sunnah narrates, he was talking to people, and when people find someone giving them a good knowledge, they are touched by it. They ask this question: is there anyone who is more knowledgeable? So they ask this question to Musa. Someone asked Musa, is there anyone who has more knowledge than you have? Musa alayhi salam, being Kalimullah, being the one who is receiving the message from Allah, said he was confident to say no. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to teach him a lesson. That وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above everyone with knowledge, there is someone who is more knowledgeable. Because the absolute perfectness is only for Allah. كمال المطلق لله عز وجل. No one is perfect in everything, or even in one thing. No matter how knowledgeable you are, there is some area which for you is a blind spot. There is some area, or maybe so many areas, which you don't know at all. So Musa alayhi salam is instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go to Majma' al-Bahrain, the conjecture where the two seas meet. So he has to go there, and he has a sign that he had a fish with him, a dead fish to eat. So the moment he loses it, then he will know this is a place. And then at that place, he will find someone. And that one will teach him. So Musa alayhi salam humbly, he said to his servant, he got his servant with him. He said, لَنْ حَتَّى أَبْلُغَ مَجْمَعَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ أَوْ أَمْضِيَ حُقُبًا. He said, I will not stop until I reach that certain place, or even it takes me however it takes. It takes me however it takes. I will go. And that's one thing we need to learn. If you want to learn, you have to have patience. You have to have a resolve, willpower. You have to be well determined to do it. Otherwise, it's not just a leak. As they say, لا تحسبن المجد تمرا أنت أكله لن تبلغ المجد حتى تلعق الصبر. It's not just a date which you lick and find the sweetness of it and that's it. It's a lot of suffering, a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance. And that's what you have to do to learn. Allah said to the Prophet ﷺ, إِنَّا سَنُلْقِي عَلَيْكَ قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. So Allah is preparing the Prophet in the very beginning that he is throwing to him heavy words, a heavy message which will cost him a lot to understand, to practice, and to deliver to others. So Musa alayhi salam is going now. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَجْمَعَ بَيْنِهِمَا نَسِيَا حُوتَهُمَا. They missed the fish, which was the sign. And not only that, the fish actually, it got life after death. So it became life by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it ran through the water. And it made a path, you can see, a path through the water. So, and that actually was a matter of wonder. And his servant forgot to tell Musa alayhi salam. So later, when Musa was hungry, he looked for food. آتنا غداءنا لقد لقينا من سفرنا هذا نصبا. We're very tired. And that's actually we learn from this journey trip traveling for the sake of knowledge. All the scholars who founded all the legacy of Islam, who delivered the message of Islam to us, they traveled everywhere. They would go from Mecca to Medina, to Yemen, to Egypt, to Khurasan, to everywhere to learn one hadith, to verify that this hadith was said by the Prophet ﷺ. To find a scholar from him, they learn, and to make themselves aware of what they are missing. And that's from the story of Musa alayhi salam. So when they missed the food, looked for it, the boy or the servant, he remembered that what happened with the fish. He said to him, أَرَأَيْتَ إِذْ أَوَيْنَا إِلَى الصَّخْرَةِ فَإِنِّي نَسِيتُ الْحُوتَ وَمَا أَنْسَانِيهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانُ أَنْ أَذْكُرَهُ وَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ عَجَبًا. So Musa alayhi salam said to him, ذَلِكَ مَا كُنَّا نَبْغِ. That's what we were looking for. That moment, that place is our destination. Where was it? It was at the rock. So he knows where it is. They went to that place. Allah said, فَوَجَدَ عَبْدًا مِنْ عِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. They found one of our servants. What Allah gave him, what are these are the talents. These are the characteristics of a good educator. آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا. Allah gave him a mercy from him. And the mercy of Allah, as the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الرَّحْمَةَ مِئَةَ جُزْءٍ. Allah made His mercy into 100 shares. He kept with Himself 99 shares, and He sent 1 share to the earth. So whatever mercy, whatever kindness you see around you, it is from the mercy of Allah. So this one had some of the mercy of Allah. Or Allah showed His mercy through the behavior of this man. So, أَتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. Allah gave him knowledge. Allah opens the hearts, the eyes of people. Because how knowledge is attained, how knowledge is attained, the main thing is observation. And everyone is observing, everyone can see. Allah said, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. Allah brought you out from the wombs of your mothers knowing nothing. Everyone is a blank page, knowing nothing. But Allah gave us the tools, the equipment of attaining knowledge, which is وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ. They made for you hearing, وَالْأَبْصَارَ, seeing, وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ, intellect, thinking, analyzing, making conclusions from what you observe. So how much you observe, how many conclusions you make, that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah opens it for whomever He likes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. And they can never encompass any of His knowledge except whatever He opens. So Allah gave this one knowledge, some certain of the kind of knowledge. And of course, he was inspired by Allah to do what he was doing. Whether he was a prophet or not, this does not matter. We are not sure. But what we are sure of, what he is doing here, it's all inspired by Allah. آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ عِنْدِنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا. So a good educator is someone who is kind, merciful, and who has knowledge. You cannot educate based on nothing, based on ignorance. Then the outcome would be a disaster. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَآتَيْنَا وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا. Look now at the student of knowledge, which is Musa alayhi salam. He said to him, هل أتبعك? Would you allow me to follow you? Would you give me the honor of your company? So that I learn from the knowledge you have. Look at this one. That's humbling yourself. You would never learn until you humble yourself. We see some people, some brothers, when they ask a question, I know, but I just want to confirm what I know. Why you say this? Why you say this? You want to learn the great scholars, they would say, like Ata ibn Abi Rabah, he would say, I would listen to someone, give him full attention when he is narrating a hadith which I knew before he was born. So see, this is not new to him. Someone will be narrating a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. And he's happy that he knows this hadith and he's narrating it. And he will give him full attention, listening to him, showing excitement to what he is listening to, as if he is learning it for the first time. And he knew this hadith, he said, and while I know this hadith even before this man was born. So that's knowledge, and how it should be honored, and how we need to humble ourselves to knowledge, whether you are a teacher or you are a student of knowledge. قال له موسى هل أتبعك, should I follow you? Would you allow me to follow you? على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. You will not be patient to my company. I will be doing something or a lot of things which you will not accept. And you will not be patient for me to tell you the secret behind. قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا. He said, you'll find me by the will of Allah, you'll find me patient. And look here, he doesn't trust his own powers. He is looking for assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ستجدني إن شاء الله, if Allah wills. And that's actually the difference between, and actually that's what tells if you are humble or not. If you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than yourself, or you trust your own powers, which can never be trustworthy, which can be lost in the first instance of test. So he's saying, inshallah, that reminds us with Ismail alayhi salam, when he said to his father, when he gave consent to his father that he can slaughter him, and he said to him, ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين. You'll find me by the will of Allah, one of those who are patient. And we have an example, a similar one also in the story of Musa alayhi salam and his father-in-law. Anyway, he said to him, ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا. I will never disobey. I will always follow your instructions. And that's a condition for anyone who wants to learn. Don't challenge your teacher in such a way that breaks in the process of education. So that's actually in human nature. When you learn a little bit, you are more challenging than humbling yourself. So those who learn a little bit, these are the biggest problem for knowledge itself. Because when you know a bit and you are not aware of the rest, then you will be biased against what you don't know. That's the problem. So what you need to do, just as Musa alayhi salam said, ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا. You'll find me patient to the end. And I will never disobey any of your instructions. Inshallah, we'll see if this happened or what happened after in the second khutbah. أقول ما تسمعون أستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي الصالحين وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله إمام المتقين. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته ومن دعا بدعوته واتبع سنته وسار على دربه واقتفى أثره إلى يوم الدين. Brothers and sisters, that's the story of Musa alayhi salam, and a lot more we can learn. So I assume we know the three instances when Musa alayhi salam accompanied this Al-Khadr, his educator, and when they came across some ship, people who have a ship in the sea, and they allowed them, they gave them a lift for free. And in return, Musa alayhi salam observed that Al-Khadr is wrecking the ship, or making a hole, little one, in the ship. And then after that, Musa alayhi salam observed Al-Khadr killing an innocent child. And then, opposite to this, he did a favor to people who do not deserve it. He did a favor to people who do not deserve it, because these people, like Musa and Al-Khadr, were strangers in a village. They asked people for food. They refused to host them, to give them any food. So what happened? Musa alayhi salam saw Al-Khadr fixing a wall which was about to collapse in that village. He said, what's happening? You are doing a favor to people who do not deserve it. And you are doing opposite to people who honored you in the ship and killing a child. And Musa alayhi salam was told what's behind. قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر. As for the ship, it belonged to, or it was owned by some poor people who are working, making their bread, winning their living from the working in the sea. And there was a tyrant oppressor behind them. If he liked their ship, he would have taken it by force. So what Al-Khadr did, he just made a little hole which doesn't make the ship sink or drown. So that the other one doesn't like it. It doesn't look nice. So he left it for them. And you can see, the scholars see, look here. There are people, there are some poor people who own a ship from which they can make their living, and they are still considered poor, masakin. And that means you can give a charity, you can help people who have an income but which is not enough to cover their needs. So what we learn from this one is to be patient with the qadr of Allah. Whatever Allah decides to you, it's in the best. It's in the best of your interest, whether you like it or not. As Allah said, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. You may hate something, but it is better for you. So if that shape looked nice for the tyrant king, then he would have taken it by force. And then these people would have nothing to make their living by. So a little hole is better than losing the whole ship. As for the boy who was killed, Musa alayhi salam was told that Al-Khadr did so because he was commanded, and it is in the knowledge of Allah. Allah knows that this boy, if he grew up and he becomes adult, he will make a lot of corruption, and he would be such a mischievous boy. He would drag his parents to haram, because parents by nature they like to defend their children, and this one will lead them to evil. So it's in the best of interest for the boy and his parents that he dies at such young age, before bulugh, so before becoming responsible, before becoming liable for whatever he does, before the angels write whatever good or bad he does. So it was in the best of his interest. When he fixed up the wall, he said, you see such bad people who refused to entertain us, to give us food. Underneath this wall, there is a treasure, which is owned by some 2 children who are orphans, 2 orphans. So if the wall falls now, and this one is found, the treasure is found, these people will never keep it for the boys. But I fixed the wall so that later, when it falls, these 2 boys will be old enough, and they will be able to collect it, and will be able to protect it. No one will be able to take it from them by force. And he mentioned why. He said, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Because these 2 boys had a righteous father. And that's a lesson for us to learn as well, which is to be righteous, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects your children and the grandchildren after your death. So brothers, that's the story in brief. And the lesson we learn here is whatever knowledge that leads you to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a beneficial knowledge. Whatever knowledge which doesn't do so is never of any benefit, and it's just a waste of time. And it could be against you on the day of judgment. So knowledge in general is either standing as an argument for you if it leads you to know Allah and practice His religion, or it will be opposite. It will be against you on the day of judgment. We remember here the first words of the Quran, اقرأ باسم ربك. Read. But read what? With a condition. In the name of your Lord. If you read and deny your Lord, you'll be like these people whose science led to weapons of mass destruction to humanity. If they knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they had a message, as Allah said, وَاسْتَعْمَرَكُمْ فِيهَا, that you should develop, you should improve the circumstances of people, you should make the earth livable. That's a message for Muslims. Every Muslim should know this. We should spread goodness on earth. Then you would never think of such a thing like weapons of mass destruction which wipe out life from earth. So what's the point of having technology, having all these blessings of science which we have, when we are under the threat of being wiped out, all humanity, in few moments? What's the point? So what security, safety, reassurance brought to people by this science, which is actually practiced by scientists who did not know or who did not read in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we say beneficial knowledge. That's why we say, the Quran said, Iqra, but with a condition, in the name of your Lord who created. When you read, when you learn, when you are a scientist, when you are a genius, when you are celebrated everywhere, you remain humble because you know a bit of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. But when you deny the existence of your creator, that's actually when you turn insane, crazy, and when you do what you regret later. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يجعلنا وإياكم من الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات المسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا، اللهم أعطنا ولا تحرمنا، اللهم ارفعنا ولا تضعنا، اللهم كن لنا ولا تكن علينا، اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك المؤمنين، اللهم انصر أهل غزة المستضعفين، اللهم انصر أهل غزة المستضعفين، اللهم إنهم حفاة فاحملهم، اللهم إنهم عرايا فاكسهم، اللهم إنهم مرضى فداوهم، اللهم إنهم جوعى فأطعمهم، اللهم إنهم مظلومون فانتصر لهم، اللهم منزل الكتاب مجري السحاب هازم الأحزاب، اللهم اهزمهم وانصرنا عليهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك المؤمنين، اللهم ثبت أقدام المجاهدين، اللهم اربط على قلوبهم، اللهم أفرغ عليهم من لدنك صبرا، اللهم أفرغ عليهم من لدنك صبرا، اللهم أيدهم بجند من جندك وبمدد من عندك يا رب العالمين. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم وأقيموا الصلاة.